About 6 months ago, I drove the brand new 2021 Volkswagen ID.4. Now, if you guys remember the ID.4, this is the brand's first ever fully dedicated battery electric vehicle built off of their new MEB all-electric architecture. Now, I really liked the new ID.4. However, when Volkswagen launched it, they only offered it with a single motor and rear-wheel drive, and I felt the vehicle was a little bit incomplete. So today, I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee with Volkswagen to drive this model right behind me. This is the 2021 ID.4 dual motor all-wheel drive. And just like the name suggests, Volkswagen has added an extra motor that's powering the front axles to give this vehicle about 100 more horsepower versus the single motor rear drive version that I drove back in March. So if you guys are in the market for an all-electric SUV that's affordable, that's gonna get you out of your gasoline-powered internal combustion car, how does the brand new 2021 ID.4 with all-wheel drive stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, because we are driving the all-wheel drive version of the ID.4, I'm gonna focus primarily, of course, out on the road, the driving dynamics. Because of the extra motor that's in the front, Volkswagen was able to improve the 0 to 60 time by about 2 seconds versus the rear drive model, which is a much needed improvement because I felt that vehicle was a little too slow. Now, sadly, under the hood of the new ID.4, unlike other EVs, you're not going to find a frunk. And Volkswagen simply says it doesn't have a frunk because it wasn't designed to accommodate one. The platform packaging just didn't allow for it, even though there is clearly space for it. So maybe for the next generation model, they'll add a frunk. But regardless, what you get here with the all-wheel drive version is an extra motor at the front powering the front wheels. That's in addition to the rear axle that's giving you about 201 horsepower. The front motor now offers 107 horsepower and 119 pound-feet of torque. Combined output is 295 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. Those are very, very healthy numbers, and VW says you should get to 60 in around 5.4 seconds, which is, again, very quick considering this is not really designed to compete with a Tesla or a Ford Mustang Mach-E, even though looks-wise, size-wise, price-wise, it's a lot cheaper versus those competitors. Now, of course, with the all-wheel drive and the dual motor system, you do have the same 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack. 77 is the usable capacity. And because of the all-wheel drive system, you have a little bit less range. The ID.4 Pro all-wheel drive gets around 249 miles of range. That's about a reduction of 11 miles. This one here is the Pro S, which has the statement and gradient package with the 20-inch wheels, so it gets 240 miles on a full charge. You still have the ability to DC fast charge this vehicle at up to 125 kilowatts. It'll roughly go from 5 to 80% in about 38 minutes, and it has an 11 kilowatt hour onboard charger, so you can roughly charge this vehicle overnight from a level 2 outlet in around 7.5 to 8 hours. The all-wheel drive version does tow a little bit more. This should tow a maximum of 2,700 pounds, about 500 pounds more than the rear drive version. And as it sits, the all-wheel drive model is about 200 pounds heavier. This is a really heavy vehicle at around 4,888 pounds. Now, shutting the hood, let's take a look at the styling of the all-wheel drive model. It is very much the same story as the rear drive version. You can't even tell that it's all-wheel drive when you look at it from the front fascia. And let me know what you guys think of the styling of the ID.4. Now that I've seen them on the road for about 6 months, they are starting to show up on roads everywhere I go. Around my local area in Pennsylvania, I have been seeing people pick these up. Volkswagen says the ID.4 is the second best-selling all-electric vehicle right behind Tesla. They've been selling basically every one that they can build, and they don't sit at dealer lots for very long when a customer orders it and takes delivery of it. Now, just like the rear drive model, this statement version with the gradient package has a really cool LED light bar that goes across the front end. It has an illuminated Volkswagen logo, which looks great at night. You have these fully standard LED headlights with LED low and high beams, LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, no LED fog lights or anything like that. Instead, you just have these openings for airflow to pass through to allow for better aerodynamics. This is one of the most aerodynamic vehicles in the class at 0.28 with a drag coefficient. And looking at it from the side profile, you can see the only way that you can tell that this one is the all-wheel drive version is when you look over here on the front fenders. There is an all-wheel drive Pro S badge here. The last one that I drove was the first edition, which it said first on the side. So that's your only indication. And if you also look at the ground clearance, Volkswagen says they raised the all-wheel drive model up by about 0.6 inches because it is all-wheel drive. They wanted you to have a little bit more ground clearance. As this one sits, you can see I don't have the final ground clearance figure. It still looks pretty low. You'd have to park the rear drive model side by side to really see the difference in the overall height. Now, this gradient package does include these massive 20-inch wheels, which do eat into the range a little bit. They're really wide tires, though. They're wrapped in two 35 with 50 series tires. So again, really nice looking wheel and tire combination. You can also get this with a 19-inch wheel, which would increase the range a little bit. You can see the ID.4s still come with rear drum brakes. Volkswagen says they went with a rear drum brake because on EVs, you do use the regenerative braking a lot, and drums are simply more aerodynamic versus disc brakes. I also think it's still a cost thing, but regardless, the ID.4 has pretty decent regenerative braking. We'll talk about that later on, although it doesn't have the full one-pedal drive feature like you might find in some EVs. Now at the back, again, you're not going to notice any differences between this and the rear drive model. The gradient package that my tester has includes the silver accents on the roof rails, on the window trim, in addition to the 20-inch wheels. I really like the full LED taillights, which have this light bar that mimics the front that goes across. You still have the white lettering for the ID.4 badge, and you've got, of course, the new Volkswagen logo. Still want them to paint the bumper a little bit more, but you can see my tester already has the tow hitch here, because remember, you can tow a maximum of 2,700 pounds. Now, opening up the cargo area, you can see a power liftgate's included. You still have the same cargo figures, so no intrusion at all versus the rear drive model. You get 30.3 cubic feet of space, fold down the second row seats, and you'll expand that to about 64 cubic feet of space. That's more than what you're gonna get in the Mach-E, but I believe a little bit less versus what you get in the Tesla Model Y. Underneath here, you can see there's a nice underfloor storage where you can put your charging cable, and then if you lift this up, you can see there's another area where you can put your charging cable. So you actually have two-tier underfloor storage. So even though you don't have a frunk, Volkswagen gives you a massive rear cargo area, which is going to help offset the fact that you don't have a front trunk. So let me briefly show you the interior of the new ID.4 all-wheel drive. This is pretty similar to the rear drive model, so I'm just going to do a brief overview. The key fob you can see is still the same new style Volkswagen key fob. They still don't offer a phone as a key feature, which I would like them to do, but it does offer some features where you don't actually have to push a start button to get in. The car will recognize you as you get in and sit your butt in the seat. You can see the door handles on the ID.4 are the same as the rear drive model. They look like a traditional door handle, but there's actually a little capacitive touch point or like a pad that you squeeze and that opens the door. If the power goes out, Volkswagen gives you the option where you can actually pull the entire door handle up. You can see there it pulls up if you pull on it extra hard. That's in case the power goes out and you have to manually open the door, but most of the times you're just going to simply just push that little pad and that'll open the door for you. Now my tester, of course, with the black interior looks pretty good, especially with the brown accents. You can also get a gray interior, which is a little bit more like a white interior. It's not available on the King's Red. I think Volkswagen should offer the King's Red with that light gray interior. You can see the seats are practically the same. They are heated seats. You have 3-person memory. You have a 10-way power adjustable seat. Still no cooled seats, even though there's like perforation in there. I would like to see Volkswagen offer that. No other competitor does, although the upcoming Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6 will. Door panels, you can see pretty much the same as the rear drive model. Soft touch injection molded plastic. Nice leatherette covered area over there. A lot of piano black plastic trim in here, which will probably end up getting scratched a lot. And you can see the window controls are still the same. You only have 2 controls here, which you have to push that rear button to control the rear windows, which I don't particularly like. Now getting inside, that 0.6-inch higher ground clearance isn't really felt here, although it still has a really nice step-in height. When I shut the door, it has a relatively solid sounding thunk. And then as I get into the vehicle, all you have to do is just put your foot on the brake and then it turns on just like the rear drive version. There's no start-stop button, although there is one here in case the power goes out or in case your key fob battery is low. Now the infotainment system here, this is still the Discover Media Pro system, which has a 12-inch display. This is included when you get the S model. You got a 10-inch display as standard on the smaller version or the non-S version, and you also have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This also includes over-the-air updates, which is nice. You can see there's a dedicated home button. Go to the CarPlay there, it'll pull up the CarPlay, which looks great. The graphics in here is great. It still can be a little bit laggy and slow at times, but remember, as Volkswagen continues to improve their software, it'll get better through the over-the-air updates. You still have that 5.8-inch helper screen here behind the steering wheel. It's a tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which offers a lot of adjustments and whatnot. The materials on the dashboard are soft touch injection molded plastic. You have some faux stitching here with the same color brown as the door panel, which is nice. The stereo system here is just a 7-speaker non-premium. I kind of wish Volkswagen offered their Fender audio system in here or Beats audio system, just an upgraded system. In EVs, you really could use the upgraded sound. Still the same newer steering wheel with the touch-sensitive buttons, flat bottom design. Some of you have voiced that you don't like the touch-sensitive buttons, but Volkswagen does a pretty good job. You can see this is the audio system to raise the volume up. It gives you capacitive feedback, so it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I think it works well. The shifter is still the same dial here. Twist it back here to go to reverse. You can see there's a reverse camera with parking sensors, no 360 camera. Click it forward to go to drive, click it forward again to go to B, which it shows you your position there in that little smaller helper display. Over here, you can see a lot of touch-sensitive controls for the audio. There's no volume knob, which sadly some of you may miss that. Touch-sensitive controls for the dual-zone climate control system. And you also have that ID light system. So you can say features like, hey ID.
What would you like to do?
Tell me a joke.
Oh, my developers didn't teach me that, but I'll give it a go anyway. I couldn't work out how to fasten my seatbelt. Then it clicked.
I was expecting it to do the one that Mercedes does where it's like, oh, sorry, my engineers were German, but that wasn't bad. So really great system. It's a little slow at times, but you can also do things like, hello ID.
Yes?
My butt is cold.
All right, warming the left front seat now.
So again, really great features, and a lot of these voice commands are becoming very popular, and I think Volkswagen actually has done a really good job. They just need to bump up the speed. Down here you can see there are cup holders. There's also an area down here where you can see total waste of space. Volkswagen should have padded this or done something and closed it where I could use that as storage. Over here again, you have a nice area to put your phone, 2 USB ports, or USB-C charging ports. You have cup holders here where you can adjust the way these are, and then there's a nice lid that closes up, which feels pretty sturdy. This plastic here feels pretty much like the same plastic that I felt in other Volkswagen products, and I also like these seats, which are comfortable and supportive. Glove box, you can see, is a bin style. It's damped but not lined with felt, and lots of LED lighting in the cabin. Massive sunroof with these the touch control here for the rear sunshade or the window sunshade. Roof material is decent. Visibility is pretty good. You have their IQ Drive safety system as standard on all trims. So you have adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, and you can see here there's lots of space in this car, and visibility is not bad. So as a regular EV, as a daily driver, aside from the better tech from other Volkswagen products, it definitely feels a little more conventional in here. If that's what you're looking for, this will be right up your alley. Now, the reason why Volkswagen doesn't offer the smaller ID.3 here in America is because they know Americans like their space, and you certainly get it with the ID.4, even with all-wheel drive. The back seat is one of the largest that you're going to find in the segment. As you can see, my tester here with the King's Red exterior and this black interior with the brown accents, which are still echoed into the back seat on the door panels, it gives you roughly around 37.6 inches of legroom back here, which is plentiful. You can easily get a child seat back here. You can easily get full-size adults. And with the higher ground clearance, you notice the step-in height in the back is also equally nice. When I shut the door has the same thunk sound as the front, and you can see in terms of our features, you still have rear seat air vents here. You have 2 USB-C charging ports. No heated rear seats back here, which I would have liked to see Volkswagen add, but you can see massive panoramic sunroof comes all the way to the back here, and Volkswagen gives you a sunshade. They threw some shade over at Tesla and Ford for not giving you a sunshade, which is kind of funny, actually. Fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders and the VTEX leatherette seats. They don't feel like real leather, but they are pretty comfortable and supportive. Material quality back here is still hard touch plastic, and you still have those nifty little phone pockets that are at the top of the seat backs, and you have these lower map pockets as well. So here we are driving the brand new 2021 ID.4 with all-wheel drive. This is the car that Volkswagen should have launched the vehicle with because, let's be honest here, people want SUVs, but they also want all-wheel drive. The rear drive version also only had 201 horsepower. It was slow when I had it for a few days. I mean, 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds is fine if you're coming from a gas-powered RAV4 or CR-V, but people buy EVs because of the different driving experience. So let's go ahead and switch the drive mode here to Sport. I just want to try from a stop here, flooring it and see how it feels. Okay, that's nice. Very cool. Okay, so VW says 5.4 seconds 0 to 60, which is 2 seconds faster than the rear drive model. It's considerably more performance. In the hands of regular everyday Joes trading in their Nissan Rogue or gas CR-V or RAV4, this is fast. Now, the one thing I'm noticing, I put my foot down there, EVs are known for offering instantaneous torque off the line. And there's a noticeable delay in this car when my foot goes to the floor to where it starts giving me maximum torque. I mean, 339 pound-feet is a fairly good number for something like this. And it definitely feels like it pulls, but it also feels like it's being held back. There's some kind of software that's holding it back from giving me full power, at least for a split second. And in that split second, I can feel that delay. It's almost like the same kind of delay you feel with a stepped automatic or as you wait for it to downshift. And I don't like that. I want Volkswagen to remove the limits. I don't want a limiter here limiting the fun. That's the whole point of a vehicle like this. You want it to be incredibly fast. You want it to be giving you instantaneous torque. Now, I would like to test out the 0 to 60, but for some reason, I'm up here in the mountains of Tennessee, and my race box here, my 0 to 60 timer is not getting a signal, and I've left it on for a few minutes trying to get a signal in it. So we may not be able to do a 0 to 60 test until I get this vehicle back home for a week to drive, but the MEB platform, this all-electric skateboard platform, you definitely notice that the vehicle is fun to drive. Unlike other Volkswagen SUVs, which feel very American in the way they handle and drive, this definitely has a more Germanic feel to it. I have the car in sport mode now. The steering is quick, responsive. It changes directions quickly. You don't feel the extra ground clearance in the all-wheel drive model, but what you do feel is plenty of torque. Once your foot goes down, great acceleration, good visibility. Steering that's fun. I mean, they could easily bring us the GTX version. Remember, there's a sport-oriented model in Europe, and Volkswagen could have done it. They said that they didn't do it because they didn't think Americans would care to have something like that. This is an SUV, a family vehicle, and I think that's a mistake. Yes, this is going to bring in new vehicles into Volkswagen showrooms. Yes, it feels like a great replacement for a gas-powered car. But at the same time, I want it to feel special. I want it to appeal to Volkswagen enthusiasts. And this still does not feel like it appeals to me as an enthusiast. In fact, I actually had one of these ordered when I first saw the car last year in New York, but then I canceled my reservation and I ordered a Mach-E GT, which should be coming in hopefully the next month or so, because Ford offers a version that'll do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So Volkswagen, consider offering that in this, or bring the ID.3 here and give us a replacement for the Golf R. It would be nice to have that. Now, as we go around these twisty back roads here, or this twisty mountain road, you can really feel that this car has a heavy battery pack weighing down weighing out the center of the vehicle, lowering the center of gravity. It's got great handling dynamics. The 20-inch wheels provide great grip. And I am wanting for a little more power here, surprisingly. I mean, it's still quick, but like, I want it to give me a full-on like GTX version, like a full performance-oriented model with a different look, stickier tires, seats that hug you a little bit more. Why not, Volkswagen? Just do it. You need to build something that's going to appeal to enthusiasts. Yes, you still have the Golf R and GTI, but how about an electric version of this? So hopefully they do consider offering that. But I won't be able to do like a full range test in this car because I'm obviously here on the mountains driving the vehicle for the first time. I'll wait to do that. This car did show about 253 miles on a full charge when I got into the vehicle. Now it's showing 215. We've gone a few miles of enthusiastic driving. But overall, I'm impressed. I like this vehicle as a family car, as a daily driver. If you're considering like a CR-V hybrid or a RAV4 hybrid or even a RAV4 Prime, consider this. It is well worth the look. The only problem is trying to get a hold of them. You have to basically factory order this car and then wait a few months for it to come to you. The chip shortage is affecting Volkswagen a little bit, but once that passes, they said that they'll be able to ramp up production, and production of this vehicle will begin here in Chattanooga exactly a year from today. Volkswagen says expect production to shift from Germany to Chattanooga by September 2022. And really, they probably can't build these fast enough. It's a great all-electric SUV that just needs a few more tweaks to appeal to enthusiasts, but as an everyday consumer vehicle, and you're wanting to make the switch from gas to electric, this is probably one of my top recommendations. It's way better than the new Bolt EUV that I drove, way better than the Leaf, and way better than the Golf electric that they first started out with their first EV offering. All right, I finally got a little bit of signal, but this was also on an uphill gradient, and I don't have quite enough signal to get the best number, but I got 5.8 seconds there, 0 to 60, which is 0.4 off of what Volkswagen claims, but it definitely feels very fast. I mean, very comparable to a Volkswagen GTI. I'm gonna have to retest it when I get it back home. I don't know what it is about this area here. Maybe it's the cloud coverage and all the trees, but my 0 to 60 timer is not able to get full signal, but I'm happy I was able to get one run there because 5.8 is considerably faster than the 7.7 that you get or the 8 seconds that you get in the rear drive single motor version. So after spending the day driving the brand new ID.4 with all-wheel drive, as Volkswagen's first ever fully dedicated all-electric vehicle in America, I have to admit, this is a very impressive offering. And you have to keep in mind, Volkswagen is one of the first manufacturers to offer this, of course, behind Tesla. Honda currently doesn't have a full electric car. Toyota doesn't have a full electric car. Subaru doesn't have a full electric car. Mazda has one coming, but it has like half the range of this, and it's going to be roughly around the same price or a little bit less. And really, I have to applaud Volkswagen for offering this vehicle. Yes, it still doesn't really appeal to enthusiasts fully. Until the company gives me an ID.4 that will do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, and it doesn't quite limit the torque as soon as my foot goes down to the floor, the all-wheel drive model is considerably faster. I believe Volkswagen's claim of 2 seconds is right bang on. The performance is very impressive. The all-wheel drive traction is good. The looks of this car, while it doesn't stand out as much as I'd like it to, still reminds a lot of people that this is a different vehicle, that it's an electric car, but it's also a very approachable electric car. If you are seriously considering switching out of a gas-powered car, this is something I would easily recommend. In fact, Volkswagen says about almost 90% of customers who take delivery of this vehicle are trading in a gas-powered vehicle, and about 70% of them are new to Volkswagen. So clearly, they are doing the right things here with this all-new ID.4, and it's a vehicle that should be seriously considered. And honestly, the all-wheel drive model is the one to get. They should have launched this vehicle first. We had to wait about 6 months, but I'm happy to report that it's well worth the wait. If you're considering something like a Chevrolet Bolt EUV, I would easily pick this model because it has better performance, it has more room, it has a cooler interior, and it just has a more high-tech feel. It's really when you start comparing it to the Mustang Mach-E and the Tesla Model Y, this car feels a little bit ordinary. But remember, keep in mind the price, because these are just starting to trickle into dealer showrooms now, the all-wheel drive version, and they start at about $43,645. That's about $3,700 more expensive versus the rear drive version. Now, of course, that does make it a little bit more expensive than a Mach-E Select, but keep in mind that's a rear drive Mach-E. If you add all-wheel drive to the Ford, it makes this car roughly $2,000 less expensive. This is almost 10 grand less expensive versus a Tesla Model Y. This particular one here, the S version with the gradient package, with the King's Red color stickers at around $51,000 with destination. 51 grand sounds like a lot of money, but it's actually a really good deal. That's before, of course, you factor in the free charging that you get from Electrify America for 3 years, before you factor in the $7,500 federal tax credit, and before you factor in the whatever state credits that your local area may also give you. So that's something to keep in mind. You can easily get this car for the same price as a high-powered internal combustion vehicle, even the hybrid version. This compares really favorable, honestly, to my RAV4 Prime. If you're considering a Toyota RAV4 Prime and you also want something that's all electric, make sure you put this one at the top of your list. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2021 Volkswagen ID.4 with dual motor all-wheel drive. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.